Hello and welcome to Business 7, your weekly program where we look at current and other interesting issues on the financial and economics landscape, not just in Namibia, but also in Africa. Please stay tuned.
Thank you so much to FNB for this opportunity. Thank you so much to FNB. What an experience. I never got to do shopping in 5 minutes, but look at all this.
Let's get the ball rolling by looking at the 5 top business stories that made headlines in Africa the past week. Reuters compiled this report.
Here's what's been making the business news in sub-Saharan Africa this week. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi wrapped up a 3-country African tour on Thursday, in which trade was the focus. The first visit by an Iranian president in a decade took in Kenya, Uganda and Zimbabwe. In Kampala, Raisi signed 4 agreements with President Yoweri Museveni and said Iran stood ready to share its experience regarding a planned 60,000 barrel per day oil refinery. The government of Zambia, Africa's second largest copper producer, said on Friday that it aims to pick a buyer for Mopani copper mines by the end of the month. Sources said China's Zijin Mining and Norinco Group, South Africa's Sibanye-Stillwater, and an investment vehicle owned by ex-Glencore officials had been shortlisted. Nigeria's Senate on Thursday speedily approved a request by President Bola Tinubu to borrow $800 million from the World Bank. That's to cushion the impact of high fuel prices after Tinubu ended a popular but costly petrol subsidy. South Africa's Eskom has said it will continue to implement Stage 6 scheduled power cuts over the weekend, its highest level on record, as cold weather increases demand. The state power utility had implemented lower levels of blackouts in recent weeks, which had helped boost investor confidence and lift the rand. And finally, Ivory Coast has stopped selling cocoa export contracts for the 2023 to 2024 season, the head of the country's sector regulator has said, after heavy rains battered and flooded farms in recent weeks. With cocoa prices currently at record levels due to supply concerns, the suspension of sales will come as a blow to a country that relies on cocoa, according to the UN, for 40% of its export earnings.
One of our business news highlights was the fuel price in Nigeria. Let's take a little bit of a deeper look into the issue, courtesy of Reuters.
Petrol prices in Nigeria hit their highest level ever on Tuesday. That's just weeks after President Bola Tinubu scrapped a fuel subsidy in a country where millions of households and businesses rely on petrol for power due to a patchy national grid. According to a circular seen by Reuters, prices were updated nationwide at fuel stations operated by state-owned NNPC. That saw a rise from 557 naira per litre to 617 naira, or just over 78 US cents. NNPC did not immediately respond to calls seeking comment. The head of the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, which groups the country's 6 largest fuel retailers, said the cause was rising global oil prices and the naira's exchange rate to the dollar. Clement Isong added that there has to be cost recovery for retailers. Since the end of the subsidy, which cost the government $10 billion last year, 56 private firms have been licensed to import petrol, ending NNPC's monopoly. Though it is Africa's largest oil producer, Nigeria imports almost all its refined fuel, due to inadequate refining capacity and the neglect of existing refineries.
This year's Capricorn Food Waste Challenge came to an end with the winners announced recently. Of course, the project aiming to curb food waste in Namibia, through that also promoting food security, but also to boost business. Now, this year's winner is Ndandali Farm, and Yolanda Nell spoke to the owner.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
Right now is those moments you want to preach, but I preach myself and I say, yes, it's true. I'm actually feeling excited. A bit nervous at the same time, but I'm proud of myself, I'm proud of the product, and I'm just proud of our team that we went this far. So that's how I feel at the moment.
So there's a 100,000 Namibian dollar cash prize and a $50,000 prize from Synergy that includes a marketing strategy. What will the financial injection mean for your business?
To be honest, this is a big one. We do this process by hands. The cutting, the cleaning, the drying. So obviously it will be invested back into the business so that we can do the process faster and easily. So we have to buy the dehydrator, we have to buy the cutter, and then I think for other part, we now need to look at the issue of how we are going to market ourselves to get from informal sectors to formal sectors. So this fund really means so much into our product itself and into our business as a farmer.
You have a very big influence on the women, especially in your communities. Why is it so important for you to give back to the community you come from?
If I have to tell you a little bit of the story, is that at our farm we do have a 1 hectare where we give it to the community. The story is a little bit weird because at first they were stealing the product. Then we were like, no, I think we are living in this community, they are part of us. Why don't we give them a part of it that they can just produce their own food so that they cannot now do the evil thing. So the reason why I'm passionate about women's and empowerment and rural development is simple because I live there. I feel them, I'm with them. So, and once you empower a woman, you actually empower the whole community. One woman feed 5 mouths. So, and the good thing with working with women in the rural area is that they understand the little they have, how they can feed their community, how they can also invest the little money they make from the market back into expanding their business. So, it's one of those phenomena I live with, and I'm really, really passionate about it.
I'm very excited that you brought products back to Windhoek for me, so now I can also test it, and I'm very excited.
Surely.
But I really look forward to one day seeing your product on the shelves, available at supermarkets for the whole of Namibia.
So also looking forward for that.
What is your plans with your business going forward?
As I say, we have to move from the nutshell now. We exhausted the informal market. Now is for us now to do the Nutrition Valley laboratory test. Those are some of the food standard and quality assurance which we need to do before now we can approach and venture into the supermarket shelf. Of course, we want to ensure that really this product is of quality, give the nutrient which intended for it. So those are I think for now it's a short-term goals where we want to see this product in the shelves of our supermarket.
I saw after you pitched in June, I saw that you were already collaborating with your fellow contestants. What are your plans with collaborations going forward?
The good thing with food industry is the whole food chain. As a farmer or as an entrepreneur, you can't do things for yourself. There are certain section where you might not be competent. For example, when you talk of the app, it might not just collect the whole food and give it to the vulnerable. He might also get us a platform where we can reach our customer easily. Then we have the fertilizers. Apart from buying these fertilizers, which are quite expensive and costly, I can collaborate with my fellow entrepreneur. I can buy from them. Then again, apart from that's piling up of food waste and so forth, we have this good mind of people who want to, again, break the whole thing of throwing food, but they want to make it turn it into manure. And even the food, I think the fish idea is so much important that, okay, we are not all vegetarians, but we also have people who might like fish, and they have that small flavors of it, and they could have a complete meal or a complete dish which they can just eat and enjoy at home. So the collaboration to me into entrepreneurship and into business means a lot, because you cannot really do everything by yourself, because it's a value chain. It's a chain from one marketer, then there's another person who can be a distributor, then maybe there's an IT guy who can help you to get into an online marketing. It's such a huge thing. So I'm up for it, and I would love to collaborate with my fellow finalists.
It has been a wonderful experience for me to be part of your journey from the beginning to the end. And we will now take a short break and show our viewers where you started and where you ended up. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and I have enjoyed the journey, and hopefully we continue into our future endeavor, coming together and give us some of the idea, not just money, ideas. Thank you so much.
Every day, you make choices that make you legendary. Journey together with us on the path to securing your legacy as a member of the League of Legends. With the Select Platinum Bundle Fee Premium Bank offering, you will access tools that will enable you to thrive. If you earn 850,000 Namibian dollars per annum or more, you can apply for this offering today via bankventug.com.na for only 447 Namibian dollars per month. Bank Ventug, a member of Capricorn Group.
An Iranian presidential trip, the first in more than a decade, was taken to Africa. What is the sudden interest in Africa by specifically Iran? Reuters tries to explain.
Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi received the red carpet treatment as he arrived in Kenya on Wednesday. This is his first stop on a three-country African tour that Tehran has touted as a new beginning in relations with the continent. It's also the first official visit by an Iranian president in more than a decade. So what is the trip all about? In 2018, then US President Donald Trump ditched a nuclear pact and reimposed sanctions on Iran. That prompted a stepping up in Iranian diplomatic outreach to developing nations. In June, Raisi visited 3 Latin American countries, Venezuela, Cuba and Nicaragua, shoring up support with allies hit by similar US measures. At its core, Raisi's diplomatic mission in Africa is to diversify.
Budding economists and business gurus are putting their fine touches on an event tomorrow that is this year's tertiary institutions debate. As I said, that you can watch tomorrow. The Bank of Namibia introduces the teams in this video.
Hi, my name is Ricky Martin Hobosep, and I am a third-year education student majoring in Economics and Business Studies from the International University of Management.
My name is Santun Chidemia from IUM, a final year student doing education.
Good day everybody, I am David Lekan, and I'll be representing the Victor of Namibia at the Bank of India Debating Challenge.
My name is Diane Sanjevo from UNON.
Hi everyone, my name is Emmanuel Zura from NAS.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vincent Chikolo.
Hello everyone, my name is Benson Temo. I'm a student at NAS.
Hello, my name is Sharika Nubasis. I am a student at NAS.
We are representing the International University of Management.
We are Team UNAM.
We're representing NAS.
Tax reforms in Kenya remain a very hot topic, with a lot of protests recently in the country. Reuters brings us an update on the turmoil.
Kenyan President William Ruto vowed on Friday that protests planned for next week will not be allowed. That's after 2 rounds of unrest that have left 15 people dead. Earlier on Friday, opposition leader Raila Odinga's party called for 3 more days of demonstrations from next Wednesday. They are against tax hikes that Ruto signed into law last month. The government says the financial measures are needed to help with growing debt repayments and to fund job creation initiatives. Critics say they hurt Kenyans already struggling to afford basic commodities. Speaking at the opening of a road, Ruto said, "These demos will not happen. You cannot use extrajudicial, extra-constitutional means to look for power in Kenya," he added. The most recent demonstrations took place despite bans by the police. Ruto did not say how he planned to stop the upcoming protests. Kenyan authorities have blamed deaths on the protesters, some of whom have thrown rocks at police and vandalized public property. A spokesman for the UN Human Rights Office said it was very concerned by the widespread violence and allegations of unnecessary or disproportionate use of force, including the use of firearms.
Connection. It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
Thank you for joining Business 7 this week. We'll see you again next week. We're playing out with a video from the International Monetary Fund. It's very interesting because the jargon of economics and finances and business are very often very intimidating. But in this specific video, the buzzwords are broken down in layman's terms and make it understandable to everybody. Until next week, stay well.
Hey there! Welcome to the latest episode of Ask an Economist. I'm Joyce Wong from the IMF, and in this series, we take all your questions about thorny economic issues, we break them down, and we give you straight answers, all without the fancy academic speak. So with that, let's get started. Today, we'll be tackling questions about economic growth. What is it? Why is it important? And how is it measured? What is economic growth? To put it simply, economic growth is the total increase in the value of all the goods and services that society produces. So, if we say the economy grew by X% in a year, we are looking at how much more goods, like bread and cars, and services like restaurant meals and hotel stays that an economy produces each year compared to last. To make this concrete, imagine an economy that only produces cars. In the first year, they produced 1,000 cars, while in the second year, they produced 1,050. The real GDP growth in the second year would then be 5%, the 50 extra cars. Growth can also be negative. If the economy produced 900 cars in the second year, you would have had a negative growth, a 10% decline. Why does economic growth matter? Economic growth is important because more production usually means more jobs, higher incomes, and less poverty. It's not just you can buy more stuff. Growth can lead to bigger investments in businesses, stronger social protection, and more financial security for all citizens, all of which in turn can lead to better living standards. Small changes in economic growth can lead to massive changes in living standards over time. Let's consider countries A and B. Every year, country A grows by 1 percentage point faster than country B. In 70 years, the living standard in country A would be about twice that of country B. How is economic growth measured? Growth is measured by changes in the gross domestic product, or GDP. So one way is to simply add all of the market values of all the goods and services produced in the economy in a year. That way, I can calculate something called the nominal GDP. If I see that nominal GDP is growing 10% year on year, well, that's useful. But if all the prices in the economy have increased by 10%, all I'm really seeing is inflation. This is why we also calculate something called real GDP, which means GDP adjusted for inflation. If the nominal GDP grows by 10% and inflation is around 5%, then real GDP growth is 5%. Now, it's important to point out, though, that GDP is not a measure of accumulated wealth. An economy can be poor, but it can have high rates of GDP growth. Also, GDP does not tell us anything about how welfare is distributed. The economy may have produced 1,000 cars, but they could have all been bought by one person, while the rest got nothing. Lastly, GDP does not reflect economic realities, such as environmental costs. For example, focusing on growth in the number of cars does not account for environmental damage associated with all of those extra cars. What can governments do to increase economic growth? A government can do a variety of things to boost economic growth. For example, it can increase spending or lower taxes. Central banks can also lower interest rates to make it cheaper to borrow or invest, which can help boost spending in the short term. But all of this is far from simple, because higher government spending and lower taxes could also create unsustainable debts. And lower interest rates can lead to higher inflation. This could all lead to lower, not higher economic growth in the long run. Going back to our car economy, focusing on just producing more cars at all costs may not necessarily be the best economic strategy overall. To generate long-term, inclusive, and sustainable growth, governments need to go beyond short-term spending and focus on strengthening their institutions and consistently delivering basic services for their citizens, like education, health, and infrastructure. With all of these foundations, economic growth can then support inclusion by creating jobs, lifting living standards, and most importantly, ensuring opportunities for all. That's all we have time for today. But be sure to continue to send us your questions to askaneconomist@imf.org, and we'll see you the next time.